Hello.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, Christine. I thought you were going to be gone.
I'm sorry?
When you going on your trip? I thought you were going to already be gone.
Friday morning I leave.
All right.
It's not a ship, I'm driving.
No, you got a long drive ahead of you, huh?
I'm driving out to Yellowstone, yeah. I got my oil change, new tires,
Excellent.
everything you need.
Well, you need one of those big campers. You have a big camper?
My car looks like a homeless person.
Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah. That's exciting, though.
Oh, yeah. I've been planning this for 50 years.
Excellent. Very good.
You gonna stop and work at Walmart on the way out?
Have you
Where?
joined yet, Karen? I have not. Okay.
Gonna stop and get a job at
why
Walmart
can I
or
not hear
Amazon?
Oh,
and
no.
Pay for the
They're
trip?
Okay.
campers to
That's from-
camp on the night.
That's from Nomadland, right, George?
Exactly, yep.
Did you read the book?
No, I saw the movie though.
Oh,
Is it,
I
is
read the
it
book.
worth watching?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah. I read about it, but I haven't watched it yet.
yeah. Dormand is wonderful. The whole cast, the actual nomads also were in it. And they're wonderful.
Yeah, I read about that. Yeah.
Yep.
I'll have to see if we can get it.
Okay, you ready, Don?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so if you're ready, I will take roll call, then you can go through your script and then we'll make a motion to open the public meeting, correct?
Hold on, I've got some background noise. Okay. I'm sorry, Gary, go ahead.
Oh, I will take roll call, you go through your items, and then we will make a motion to open it to a public meeting, correct?
Correct.
So Gary Ellis here, Christine,
Here,
George,
Here,
Debbie. I think you're muted, Deb, but you're here. Paul,
Here.
Liz,
Present.
Nate.
Here.
Thank you all for attending. I'll let Don Marine go through our script for the Zoom meeting.
As a precautionary measure to reduce the spread of the coronavirus, all town buildings are closed to the public, and the May 12, 2021 Community Preservation Committee Annual Public Hearing and Meeting will be held by remote participation. My name is Dawn Marie Flett, CPA Program Coordinator, and I'll be serving as moderator for this virtual meeting. Although no in-person attendance will be permitted, every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access and participate in the proceedings. Persons who would like to view or listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by watching via this virtual meeting or dialing into the number provided on the notice of meeting. We will also post a recording of this meeting on the Town of Yarmouth website as soon as we are able. Please be patient as we work to overcome any technological challenges with this virtual meeting. For all meetings, to reduce confusion during the meeting, all audience participants of the virtual meeting enter the meeting muted. Participants will be unmuted when called upon to speak by the chair or moderator. If you are not speaking, please mute yourself to avoid unnecessary background noise. All votes must be roll call votes. After a motion is made and there's a second, the chair will ask for a roll call vote. For public participation, comments or questions from the public will be taken at the discretion of the chair. Members of the public may speak by
Now she's
selecting
not
the
moving.
raise hand button and waiting for the chair to call on them to
Is it
speak.
my device?
If you are dialed into the phone number provided, you can press *9 on your phone to indicate that you would like to comment. Members of the public recognized by the chair are asked to identify themselves by first and last name and affiliation for the public record, and then to provide their comment each time they speak. I will now hand the meeting back to the chair and ask for a motion to open the public hearing.
Okay, thank you, Don. So here a motion, we'll do a roll call vote to open the public hearing.
so move.
Motion
seconded.
by Christine, seconded by George. Gary, aye. Christine,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Liz,
Aye.
Nate,
aye,
and Deb.
Aye.
George is aye.
You were on my screen. I didn't see you, George.
I know.
So, all right, we'll go ahead and I will do my script for the public hearing. I think, can all of you see the slides that Don has?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, and thank you for participating in the annual Community Preservation Public Hearing. My name is Gary Ellis, and I am chairman of the Community Preservation Committee. We are eager to provide you with an update of all the exciting projects that we have going on around town despite COVID. We have a brief presentation for you, and then we would like to hear from you or on new projects that you would like to see funded in our community going forward in the future. I will start our presentation with an overview of the Community Preservation Act, how the town reviews and approves projects for CPA funding and the upcoming application process. We will take questions at the end of each segment. In the end, we seek your ideas either orally or by email for new projects and how to best meet the needs and goals of the residents and taxpayers of Yarmouth. Okay, slide number 2. The Community Preservation Act was signed into law in Massachusetts in the year 2000, and a special version, the modified CPA, was approved in 2005 for Cape Cod communities that had previously adopted the Land Bank program back in 1998. The adoption of the modified CPA replaced the Cape Cod Land Bank program with expanded areas of operation. As you know, the Community Preservation Act, or CPA, allows any town in the Commonwealth to adopt a property tax surcharge of up to 3%. The revenues in any state matching funds give Yarmouth a dedicated funding source to improve our community in 4 categories: community housing, historic resources, open space, and recreation. While the annual impact is not substantial on individual homeowners, the accumulation of the surcharge across the town's taxpayers, both homeowners and businesses, does bring in about $1.8 million annually for CPA purposes in Yarmouth. At the November 2020 town meeting, voters approved an article to adopt a $100,000 exemption to the CPA surcharge and to adopt a corresponding surcharge of 0.78% to fund a new water infrastructure fund to fund clean water initiatives townwide. The exemption, which is commonplace off Cape, translates into a reduction of approximately $500,000 in CPA local revenues for Yarmouth. By adopting the exemption, rather than a reduction in the surcharge rate, the maximum state match amount is preserved to the maximum possible. This change will be voted next week at the May 18th annual town meeting and will take effect in fiscal 2022. Shortly after adopting CPA, a 9-member Community Preservation Committee was formed. The committee reviews applications for funding, meets with applicants to discuss their proposals, and then makes recommendations to town meeting. Our recommendations are based on many factors, including the overall benefit to the residents and taxpayers of Yarmouth and the ability to meet committee goals as outlined in our community preservation plan. We also monitor all of the projects to ensure that funds are spent in accordance with the application and the town meeting vote. At this time, I'll introduce our committee members. As I said before, my name is Gary Ellis. I am Chairman at Large member. Christine Mazzagliano is our Vice Chair and represents our Open Space Committee. Debbie Clark represents the Recreation Commission. Elizabeth Hartsgrove represents the Planning Board. Paul Huggins represents the Conservation Commission. Tom Kelly is our second at-large member appointed by the Board of Selectmen. Tom isn't able to join us this afternoon. George Slama represents the Historic Commission, and Nate Small represents Community Housing. Lastly, Mary Ann Walsh represents the Yarmouth Housing Authority. Those are the 9 members of our committee. Next, I would like to talk about the Community Preservation Plan. This plan presents a description of the Community Preservation Act, a definition of CPA goals, guidelines, and instructions for applicants seeking project funding, and guidance for the committee to review applications and make recommendations to town meeting. CPA funds are a dedicated funding source to improve our community for future generations. This plan is updated annually, and the committee is currently seeking public comment. The plan is available at, I'm not going to read that, done. It's if you go to the Yarmouth website, you'll be able to pull up the thing that you can make comments via email.
Yeah, I'll give you the short route is you go to the Yarmouth website, go to government, then departments, and then you'll find community development. And on the left in this blue bar is Community Preservation Grant Program, I think it's titled, and that's how you get to this page, or copy the link.
I'm sure everybody can see the link. It's on the screen. So public comments can be mailed to Yarmouth Community Development Department, also to 1146 Route 28 South Yarmouth 02664, or deposited in the drop box outside Town Hall side door, or emailed to dflet@yarmouthmass.us until June 12, 2021. The allowable uses chart, which we've always had this, but we added it to the plan this year, is helpful in determining if a project is eligible for CPA funds. The chart shows each target area and the purpose for which funds may be allocated. This chart should be used by anyone considering an application for CPA funds and is available on the website. Obviously, anybody looking at this chart, if you have any questions, contact Dawn and we will make a determination. Normally, if we can make it fit in a category, we normally will. But a lot of projects who come to us, you have to understand, if it doesn't fit this chart, we can't fund it. But again, if you have any questions, contact Dawn at the Community Development Department. Yarmouth voters adopted the CPA, adopted CPA 17 years ago, and it currently generates about $1.8 million. We also receive state matching funds, approximately $300,000 to $400,000 in recent years, which came from recording fees collected at the Registry of Deeds. You see from the table on the screen that CPA revenues and state matches combined have generated more than $32 million since 2005, with almost 23 million raised locally and more than 9 million coming in from the state. Also impressive, which is a big item for us, is that CPA grants stimulate matching funds, and we normally ask for matching funds on every project from many sources, which have totaled over $48 million, bringing total investment in Yarmouth close to around $80 million. This is a significant investment that likely would not happen without CPA funding. Okay, under appropriations by category, which is the pie chart you're looking at now, this shows how the town has appropriated CPA funds since 2005 by the 4 categories of allowable spending. That has been $12.1 million for community housing, $7.1 million for historic preservation, $4.5 million for open space acquisitions, and $5.5 million for recreation projects. Obviously, from looking at the pie chart, it's easy to see that the greatest part of our pie has gone to community and affordable housing. A breakdown of this spending by applicant and project is available on the CPC website. Compliments in our community. We are excited to inform you that to date, we helped to create or preserve more than 200 affordable homes. We have also helped more than 100 households with rental assistance to keep our families in town. We have rehabilitated 24 historic properties and completed 18 recreation projects. Lastly, we have protected approximately 58 acres of open space in town. A few highlights from last year. For historic projects, which the slide you're looking at now is the Baxter Gristmill on 28. CPA funds have leveraged significant federal funding for improvements to the dam, sluiceway, and fish ladder to the Baxter Gristmill in West Yarmouth. These efforts will help to preserve this important historic structure, improve dam safety, and improve fish passage into Mill Pond. The completed work has also improved the visibility of the site. I know it doesn't measure, but another aspect of this is we are the one committee in town that has contributed more to reducing nitrogen and water flow to our tributaries, which is part of the reason we're going into the whole sewage thing. And many of our projects have contributed greatly to the nitrogen reduction in our waterways and tributaries. Next, under Yarmouth New Church for historic projects, it completed a new climate control system, which will protect against humidity damage and permit better utilization of the audience room. The balance of the 2019 grant will be used to help restore the wooden exterior of the 1870 Gothic church. We also provided funding for the Historic Society of Old Yarmouth, completed its digitization project, which provides expanded access for fragile historic documents and preserves the same from overhandling. Many of the photos scanned have been posted on Digital Commonwealth, where they may be viewed and downloaded. Under community housing projects, CPA funds have been well utilized since our program started, funding a variety of programs that include a multifaceted affordable housing program through in-house efforts sponsored by Yarmouth Affordable Housing Trust and by private sponsors. Recent efforts included funding for Friends of Relatives with Autism and Related Disabilities Forward, completed construction of a fully supervised support-based home in Dennis for people with autism. This is a regional project supported by 5 Cape towns, including Yarmouth, and now houses 8 residents and is operated 24/7 by Capabilities. Over the last few years, in addition to ongoing programming, including homeownership buy-down, townwide rental homes program, the Trust has focused efforts on a motel redevelopment program, which has resulted in 69 units of affordable rental housing at 881 Route 28, commonly known as Yarmouth Gardens, and 40 units at 497 Route 28, which is now under construction. Combined, these two projects have leveraged more than $20 million for affordable housing. Building on the preservation efforts of the Cape Cod Land Bank, we're under the open space category now, CPA's predecessor, the town has utilized CPA funds to acquire additional open space and improve existing open space. Notable recent efforts include funding for the Parkers River Bridge, tidal restoration, which will improve tidal flows and has already. If you go by there recently, you can see the difference in the tide changes, which again is contributing to cleaning the nitrogen from Swan Pond. Notable recent efforts include funding for the Parkers River Bridge, as I said, improved tidal flows for the Parkers River Swan Pond estuary, thus improving the ecosystem and water quality while reducing the nitrogen loads and the acquisition of 2 properties, approximately 6 acres of land in Yarmouthport on Starbuck Lane, 1.35 acres of land at 275 Route 28, the former Yankee Village Motel, for which the town secured a $400,000 grant through the Commonwealth's Parkland Acquisitions and Renovations Program for communities. Work on restoration of this property is ongoing, with planning expected to begin in the fall of 2021. Under recreation projects, we have the Riverwalk Park and Boardwalk Loop. Current efforts are focused on design and permitting and leveraging CPA funds to secure additional grants. In 2020, the town was successful in leveraging $1.9 million from state and federal sources for the project. The Recreation Commission on the Sandy Pond project and the DPW continue to work together on the planning of the Phase 1 construction at the Sandy Pond Recreation Area. At annual town meeting of 2020, at last year's annual town meeting in June, voters approved 7 projects. The first listed project is funds for our home preservation program, followed by an article of the Municipal Affordable Housing Trust. There were 4 historic projects, 1 recreation article approved at town meeting, totaling $373,600. For our annual town meeting 2021, in addition to our regular housekeeping articles to allocate funding for incoming receipts, the CPA has recommended 14 applications for funding to town meeting. Requests are from all 4 categories and are shown as included in the warrant on the slide. Total recommendations, excluding land acquisition, total approximately $3 million. We will be preparing for the FY23 annual town meeting before we know it. Approximately $4 million is anticipated to be available for the upcoming grant round. As shown on this slide, as required by law, we set aside 10% of our annual revenues into a housing reserve, 10% to a historic and open space. 2 of these reserves have existing balances in them. The remaining funds, called undesignated, may be spent on any of the 3 categories plus recreation. Once we have finalized our plan, an application schedule will be posted online. Traditionally, applications are due mid-September so that the committee may review and make recommendations in keeping with town meeting schedules. We strongly encourage potential applicants to reach out ahead of time with any questions. The committee likes to see complete applications and cost estimates to back up any request. If you have any questions that are specific to only you or to your application, feel free to speak to any of us online or by phone, or contact us by email. At this time, I'll open the floor up to anyone in the audience who would like to make a public comment. In particular, we are eager to hear from comments on the CPA plan and on your thoughts for projects for the future. Please raise your Zoom hand to speak. Once recognized, please state your name and address as well as any organization you are affiliated with. Please speak loudly so that we can all hear. Don,
Carrie, I have Mary Wagon.
okay.
You should be able to go ahead, Mary.
Hi,
Hey.
everybody.
Hi, Mary.
Hi. So the Housing Committee met on Monday and looked at the plan and sent you all a memo. No real big surprises, just some tweaks to get you updated with what the affordable housing program is doing right now. So I'll leave that for you to read and consider. And then I wanted to make a comment based upon my experience as a staff. And that is, as you go forward and you're asked to do more and more work with other towns, I was just thinking it might be nice to have a process or a procedure or a policy where you make sure the Board of Selectmen of that town receiving the aid is happy about the money coming into their town. And I only tell you this because there's a lot of talk and chatter in the affordable housing world, the regional affordable housing world. And, you know, everybody's looking to redevelop motels into affordable housing. So we just want to make sure that if a town that doesn't want affordable housing in their town doesn't come and spend it in our town, right? So we just want to kind of establish a policy that, you know, as we spend money in other towns have to get, you know, approval from the Board of Selectmen as well to come and spend money here. So.
Okay, well, it's a good point, Mary. I mean, doing the regional projects is still something we're getting used to working with, but I know the state encourages it, and you know, sometimes it's difficult to get all the selectmen and everything to agree, but I believe everybody should know about what's going on from every town that's involved. We try to get as many towns involved as we could with the Dennis housing project. So,
Right. Just a thought. People.
Oh, good point.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Anybody else, Don?
I don't see any other hands raised in our audience. We do have a few, 8 additional attendees, but I don't think anybody needs or wants to make a public comment.
Well, if everybody can hear me, if you want to make a comment, now would be the time. If not, you can certainly do it in writing anytime. And I think it's important, as we mentioned before, for upcoming projects to try and let us know about your intent as far in advance as possible so that we can let you know. A lot of the times we ask for supporting letters of documentation and stuff, and we can let you know all that ahead of time. It's a time saver when it comes to crush time and we have to vote on your application.
Joe Taylor would like to speak.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to make myself available. I'm the executive director with the Cape and Island Veterans Outreach Center. And I just wanted to answer any questions or field any information or provide any information that you deem would be necessary. So I didn't want to miss an opportunity to let you know we were here.
Well,
So-
we will be discussing your application once we close the public hearing, and then we are going to want to hear from you. So,
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm
yeah,
not
no,
familiar
that's
with
fine.
protocol.
Just hang in there because
Okay,
we'll
thank you.
be done in a minute, and then we're going to get right back to you.
Sounds great.
Okay, thanks. So if there's no further comment. I
There
take it out.
is, Bob Lawton would like to speak.
Good afternoon. Thanks for the opportunity. On behalf of the Affordable Housing Trust, I'm the vice chair. We've really appreciated the amount of money that's been allocated by the CPC for our various projects. We're really excited about having the Yarmouth Gardens being completed with 40 units, but we are then done with our motel conversions, and we're changing our thrust, which your board has approved, to do some additional conversion of buy-down units to be affordable. We did say, I believe, that if we are unsuccessful, given the economy and the amount of money it's taking to purchase houses, even with a third party, we would then come back to your board and talk about possibly changing some things into rental units, which the selectmen certainly support. But the trust certainly appreciates the assistance financially and I guess I won't say emotionally, but the support has been really important for us to do as much as we've done in the past years that we've been in existence. So just as a comment of where we're going. So thank you.
Thanks, Bob. And we certainly appreciate everything you and Mary have done, and Nate, and I think we've done the best we can for affordable housing in this town. That, like I said, that was the biggest amount of our pie, and I think people should recognize that.
Thanks.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank
Anybody
you.
else? Anybody else, Don, you see?
Last chance. I don't see any other hands raised.
Okay. And if that being the case, I want to thank everybody for attending the public hearing and for your valuable comments. If you have any questions about Community Preservation Program, please contact Dawn Marie Flett in the Department of Community Development. Her contact information is shown on the screen. At this point, I am take any remaining questions concerning the Community Preservation Act. If any committee members have any question or would like to add anything, I'd be glad to have you do that now. If not, we will just conclude the portion of public comments, and we will take a motion to adjourn the public meeting and go back to our regular open meeting.
So moved.
Okay, motion
George
by
moved.
George,
I'll
seconded
second.
by Christine. All in favor? Christine? Christine, gotta say
Second.
aye. Gary, aye. George,
Aye.
Paul? Debbie? I can see it.
Mm.
Liz?
Aye.
Nate?
Aye.
That ends our public hearing for this year. Hopefully anybody who's still here, I expect I'll see you all at town meeting. And it'd be nice to see as many people as possible. Hopefully the weather's good, and I think we'll have more people than we did last year. Let's put it that way. All right, so now, Don, I guess we'll go back to our agenda, and I think first we have the CIVOC Veterans Housing Discussion and Vote. So did everybody get a copy of this that we're looking at now? Did you, this is what they submitted last time as regards to our going back and forth with them looking for funding for parts of the project that are not yet completed. So this is what we have. And I guess if Joe's here, now would be the time for Joe to go ahead and talk about what this is and what you're looking to complete going forward.
Hi, Gary, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Again, thank you for allowing me to speak. What we have in front of you on the screen is the breakdown of the total initial cost of the Veterans House in Dennis. Granted, it's on a 99-year lease for $1 from Dennis. So the 997 is the total construction cost of the property. The next line, what we call the in-kind donations, as far as builders that provided both labor and materials at no cost to us. We were aggressive in our fundraising, which are the cash donations that you see there. We were awarded a $200,000 grant from the Dennis CPC last year that was used to purchase materials for the house. Just this past Saturday, we were fortunate enough to receive a $15,000 grant from the town of Harwich. So that brings us down to our current balance of 143. To the request of the committee, we were asked what, as far as our anticipated costs moving forward to finish the project is, and then unfortunately due to COVID, we were required to take a loan now because all of the CPC meetings, as I'm sure each of you are aware of, were delayed. We had no intention of having to secure a loan from Cape Cod 5, but as all of the CPC and town meetings were pushed off due to COVID, we weren't going to leave our veterans up in the air and say, well, we got to wait. So we made the decision to go ahead and get the line of credit so we could complete the home with the anticipation of the town meetings taking place and CPC funds being awarded. So with the line of credit, that brings us down to a number of 53,131 that we basically have. And keep in mind what a lot of times I get hit with the question, how the number changes. Well, that number changes for multiple reasons. Different CPC numbers that we were anticipated don't come through. Due to COVID, a lot of contractors that were planning on providing in-kind donations, sadly, are not in business or cannot handle doing the in-kind donations. So these numbers have continued to modify over time. So I know, Gary, you referenced previous document. So you'll see changes in there, but this is fluid. So again, this is as of May 10th, as far as the numbers. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be delighted to answer them.
So just quickly from reading this, and correct me if I'm reading it wrong, your anticipated cost would be the same as the anticipated expenses, which
Correct.
is 87.4. So you have 5 items listed there.
Yes,
Those items you anticipate would add up to the 87.4.
yes, sir.
All right, so with that, I'm going to go back to the committee, and, you know, we talked last time, we approved up to 20,000 because that was the figure we could come up with. But at least for me, I would ask Joe to break that 87.4 down into those 5 categories. And then those are projects yet to be done. We wouldn't be in reimbursing, which we don't do. And then they'd be able to complete these projects up to, and our amount would go to the 87.4. So now I'm going to look for everybody's comment on how they think we should handle this.
Gary, George?
George?
Thanks for coming in, Joe. George Schlammer.
Hi,
Gary, I agree that we need to get the breakdown in detail of the categories. Also, Joe, I'd be interested in a timeline as to when you would anticipate these activities and anticipated items to start and finish. And that helps us give us some perspective.
Sure, George. Landscaping, we were given the window of late April, early May, so it should start anytime soon. Chris Lambden, who's a member of the Dennis Selectmen, is in charge of that. And tied into that also is the sprinklers. Naturally, they go hand in hand. Security system, we're out to bid on that. Solar power is a long project in terms of permits. And we were told about 4 months to have solar put in there. Our first delay was to ensure that we're in the historical section of Dennis, so we had to get that approval, which we got. And then in the basement is an area where we can actually have meetings and turn around and have the residents actually, I guess you'd call it counseling, group counseling is the term, to meet in there. That is basically studded, but we ran out of money. So we had to, as with anyone, make decisions on what could be done at the time and what couldn't. And we're just excited that we were able to accomplish this during a pandemic. We beat the bushes out there to have funding to the point, if you look up there again, a number of cash donations to equate over 350,000. We're very, I guess, proud that we were able to do that. So I hope that answers the question as far as timelines. George, I'm sorry.
Yes, and Joe, if you, with the landscaping and sprinklers, do you have a quote? Do you have something that you can provide us?
Yes,
So that
what
we
we've got is the plantings, trees, labor is 22,000. Sprinklers, 5,000. Security system, 2,400. Solar is 20,000. Again, we were told they're working hard, and that's a very being outreach, and they're trying to get support and materials covered by being donated. We were told the actual price to have it put in would be 28,800, but we're looking for panels to be donated by suppliers. And then the final one is 38,000 in the basement resource center.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so anybody else want to talk? The problem I think, and I think Christine, you're going to mention that, like if you're going to do the landscaping and you do it in April, if this money's approved.
No, the timeline was April, early May, so this year. So when it snowed.
No, I know, but if we approve the money, it's not available to July. So
Oh, I see what you're saying.
We're reimbursing. We've never reimbursed.
Right.
We don't. You can imagine. Believe me, this committee totally supports veterans housing. We want you to do more of these projects, and that's being taken as we're bended. We want to help you with this. We just want to make sure it meets our guidelines, and we've never done it before with anybody else. Like go back to the cultural center, they had to come back to us, and they can't go ahead and do the repairs until we approve it, and then the money's available. Then you give us the bill and we pay the bill. That's how we've always done it.
Right, I understand that, Gary.
So, okay.
And thank you for the explanation. And I hope you understand we're not in a normal year. I honestly would have been able to meet your requirements without a problem moving forward. This is just a unique situation. And as I mentioned earlier, to get our veterans in the home,
Yep.
we couldn't wait and say, granted, we've got to wait till July 1 to finish the house, which would basically leave veterans on the street because our house here in Hyannis is full. So all I can say is, and it's a fine line, because I've got sensitivity to neighbors that held this project up for 3 years that were getting pressure. When are you going to do the landscaping? When are you going to do
Yeah.
this and that? So I'm walking a fine line, but I respect absolutely what you're saying. If I can hold off on the basement, I can hold off on, well, the solar, that won't be done by July 1 anyways. The security system, I'll hold off on. The sprinklers and the landscape, my hands are tied on that one, so I appreciate the explanation. If you guys can help me on the bottom 3, that would be tremendous. I just, from a PR standpoint, I don't want to be taken to court because of a neighbor saying we're not meeting our obligations. I turned around and I had to submit a drawing of the landscaping, and itemized by plant, by tree, to solidify and just get me to the middle of May before they start putting the landscaping in. So that's the only reason it's on there. I was trying to respond
got it.
to what hasn't been done. So I understand what you're saying too. So absolutely, I agree with you.
Hey, Christine, did you want to?
I was going to basically go through the procedures with Mr. Taylor. You know, we're absolutely support veterans housing. But just reflecting on that 3 years of litigation, they had 3 years to file this. You know, you file an application in September. It gets reviewed by the CPA committee, goes to town meeting usually in May, and then the funds are available July 1st for a project not to start until after July 1st. And then, you know, the project starts, and then with the paid receipt, we reimburse them. They had years and years to file an application, you know, for assistance. You know, it's unfortunate that it's been delayed, you know, with well, I'll call it a late application, you know, because they were already in progress. But I would be for, you know, certainly support anything that would be started after July 1st.
Yes, ma'am, I understand that. Our original application was spring of last year.
Yeah, that's the normal. You file it in
Right,
September,
and
the
and that's
funds
what we
aren't
did.
available until the following July.
My understanding or our approach was application for July of last year, but due to COVID and the delay in the meetings and town meetings, that's why we were delayed on this side. Had we had a traditional year with the different CPCs all meeting last spring, going before the town meetings, I wouldn't be in this position. Because our applications that we're still waiting on, we were doing last spring for the CPC.
Is there anybody else who wants to ask Joe any questions or discussion? What's your pleasure?
What's the dollar amount for those last 3 items?
60,400.
Thank you.
Anybody else want it? I can't see everybody's hand because the screen's at dawn. Is there anybody else who wants to comment?
So small.
Gary, Karen would like to comment, and Debbie.
Okay, let's go with Debbie first.
Debbie, unmute yourself.
I'm muted. Now, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. No, I just wanted to iterate on the price for landscaping and sprinklers. I didn't get it before. The cost.
Yes, ma'am. 22,000 for the landscaping and 5 for the sprinklers.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Hey, Karen?
Yeah, thank you, Gary. I just wanted to make sure the committee knew since we are looking to appropriate funding that's available on hand, funding is available after town meeting and after a contract is executed. So you don't have to wait all the way to July. But I think we'd be safe with mid-June getting a contract executed.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Like, I kind of understand, I don't know what to do. I kind of understand Joe's point. I know I've been by it. If we get into the dry season, they're not going to be able to do the landscaping in August. They're going to lose, all the topsoil is going to blow away. Nothing's going to grow. So that creates a unique situation to me. But even if we were going to consider the landscaping, I'd want to see the written quote from, who'd you say was going to do it, Lambden?
Chris
Yes,
Lamson.
Chris Lambden with,
Yeah. Do you think you could get that to us?
yes, sir. I can send you the breakdown of the plannings and the corresponding pricing right now. The only portion I wouldn't have that I'd get from Chris is the labor.
So,
Eric?
Yep, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I just want to help me to understand it from what Karen said also. So the three things, the security, the solar, and the finish the basement, those are possibilities given the fact that they could be accomplished after July 1. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Gary, you confirm that as well?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's my
So-
understanding,
No,
yes.
no, what Karen just said is that if a contract be entered into in June, that those things can also be considered. So am I to understand then that after we see the necessary documentation, the bid from Lambden and maybe even the sprinklers, that those things, the contracts could be entered into the middle of next month, and so we'd be okay with everything. Am I understanding all that correctly? Maybe
That's
Karen?
what I'm getting at, Paul. I think that is correct. Karen?
Oh, I was just going to say, Paul, in terms of timing and town meeting appropriation and us getting a contract going, you're correct. I think any of the other terms, the quotes and things like that, that's up to you guys to look for. So I've heard that you're asking for quotes on the landscaping and sprinklers. And I think when Joe has them, quotes on the other things might be helpful to you as well. That's a question.
So could a motion be considered to appropriate, allocate, whatever the right term is, the total of 60,400 with the provision that a contract be signed, reviewed by this committee and signed for landscaping by the, I don't know, middle of June, and also that the same applies to the sprinkler system? Something to that effect?
Well, I don't think we're restricted by law from having talked with the coalition and everybody else on what we're doing here. We just, it is a precedent, but it is a unique situation.
Okay.
And I wouldn't want to lose the landscaping because of this, where I think town meetings next week.
Right.
So we'd be able to get it approved at town meeting.
Yeah. Well, if we had those provisions, I mean,
Right.
I agree with you, Gary, and I think with everybody else that we'd like to help them get this thing done. But we have to do it within our set of regulations.
Correct.
And it seems to me that those things we discussed, that Karen talked about and so on, allows us to consider it and follow the regulations. But we have to have those provisions within the motion saying we've got to see the landscape contract and the sprinkler contract and And all of that has to be accomplished by June, or else those things, the 22,000 and the 5,000 would not be, would not be provided, or something to that effect. They'd have to reapply or something. I don't know. Is that making
Yeah,
sense?
I think he could do what you're saying. That's anybody else with comments? I think he can make
Yeah.
that motion, Paul, and I think we can do it.
Liz would like to make a comment.
Liz?
Thank you. Hi, yeah, I think if you're concerned, Gary, about setting a precedent, I think you just make that in the motion, that this is on a case-by-case basis and that it does not set precedent for any future applications. I do, though, I think, Mr. Taylor, correct me if I'm wrong, you are applying for the 87,000, correct? Not 64,000.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
I feel comfortable voting for all of that, and if he can't get the landscaping done, if there's other snafu in this, then he's got to come back for continuity purposes and for his peace of mind and ours to move forward. I think we just should vote. That's my opinion, that we should just vote on the full amount and not set any conditions on it, so that way he can just move forward and be able to just have a little bit more fluidity in his project.
So
Anybody
would
else
that
in-
mean, would that mean we'd be voting with money as kind of contingency money? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's kind of, but it would be up to the 87.4.
Yeah.
And, we still would have
okay.
the right to approve it or not approve it.
Okay, I get it. Okay, thank you.
I mean, it's not like we'd do it up to that, but I think Joe understands what he has to get us.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I understand. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Liz.
So if anybody else has any more comments with Joe here.
Karen has a comment.
Karen?
I wanted to tack on, when you guys are ready to vote, I'd request that you also include the funding, because at this point, we had originally funded it from two different places. We had some funding from housing and some funding from undesignated. And so I don't know where you would like to spend from. If you want to just spend from the housing line, we can do that, because we'll have. Go
My
ahead.
feeling would be to do it the same breakdown we had before. The numbers will be different, but still from both.
So we'll take the maximum of on-hand dollars from housing, which I think will be, hold on, I'm going to do the math. I'll show you after this.
Okay, well, that could be the motion, would be the maximum
Yeah.
available from housing,
And
and then the rest from undesignated. So it would be the max available in
Yeah.
housing.
So I believe you'll be looking for someone to make a motion, and I can offer to help, to appropriate $87,400.
Up to,
Okay,
if they don't spend it, they don't spend it.
yeah, understood. Motion to appropriate up to $87,400 to fund veterans housing at 1341 Route 134 for costs to be incurred subsequent to May 22, 2021, or would you like a later date? Do you want it effective as of the contract being executed?
Yes.
Okay. So subsequent to contract execution. And we will try to expedite that. And further, to fund such appropriation with $40,022 from housing and $47,378 from undesignated. And that will bring you to $87,400 total.
And
Do you want me to put the motion on the screen? I can do that.
you want to put the motion on the screen. I also want it part of the motion that if this house ever changes use or ownership, that the money be returned.
Hold on one second. Okay, can you see my error rut Word document?
Yes.
Okay, oops, get rid of that.
Gary, while Karen is doing that, can you clarify the reason why you want the money to be returned if it changes hands ever? Like, can you
Well,
clarify that?
if it's not used for veterans housing, I don't know. Normally, we don't
Oh.
put this in the motion, but we've always done it before. We did it with the Simpkins School, with Yankee Village. Any money you get back, it comes back to us. So in other words, if the veterans housing, they went out of business and they sold that to a private enterprise,
Even after they've completed the work
yeah.
or before they've completed?
Suppose they sell it to a private developer and they go somewhere else.
But after the sprinkler systems are in or before the sprinkler systems are in? I just need to understand where
No,
you're coming
if
from
the
before.
property is ever sold, I think Karen can address this. We've
Yeah,
done it
I-
before. If we were doing this under state historic guidelines, it would be required.
Liz, so rather than, we're not looking to put a restriction on the property, like an affordable
No.
housing restriction or anything like that. I think this is more of a payback provision. You know, it's something we do with some of our affordable housing loans in general, where we'll, we give money for a rehab. So I can give you an example. The Hetch program, where we fund
Mhm.
rehab of affordable of homes to help people stay in their homes affordably. When somebody goes to sell that house, because we don't have an affordable housing restriction that's going to retain affordability in perpetuity, we say, you've got to pay us back. So we have an instance right now where we made a loan for $19,000, $17,000. Someone has, succeeded, they're moving on, they've sold the house. The house isn't permanently restricted. And so the town will take the money back and it goes back into the CPA account.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Gary, you're then wanting, if this gets sold, but sold outside of a veteran program entity, then the money has to be returned upon the sale? Or is it sold by anyone? To anyone, including a future veteran program or even an affordable housing? So I just want to make sure that we have this motion right and we have
Yep.
that conversation.
I got it. So, yeah, I don't really know how to craft that, but if it went to another group that was doing affordable veterans housing, I wouldn't want the money returned. I don't know.
It's a good
Maybe
question, Liz.
you can run it by town council. I don't know. You understand my intent?
I do. I just want to make sure the motion, the
Yep.
motion is reflective of the intent. So that way there's clarity 10 plus years down the road or whenever that ever happens, the new readers are reading it according to the author's intent. So
Okay. So I don't really know how to do that, Karen.
I'm trying to figure it out on the fly.
Come on.
I'm thinking out loud, which I don't like doing in a public meeting.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to bring it up.
You could say things like nonprofit. You could say veterans, but I don't know that I don't know that's going to meet your intent. I can, so here's the thing, rather than us guessing and getting it wrong.
Here's the other thing, Karen. We don't have to do it in this motion. Normally we do it at the contract phase.
Correct.
So that would give us time. I just want to be Joe aware of the fact we're going to ask for this. So maybe it doesn't become part of the motion. When we enter into contract, it would be in the contract.
Yeah.
So that could be part of the motion then, Gary, that language is clarified, and as long as it's in the minutes that Dawn Marie is typing
Yep.
up, that we're having this conversation and that it is, our want and desire that it is addressed in the contract and clarified through council's
Yep.
oversight and guidance. I think that would be sufficient.
I
Karen,
think you're right.
Can you look at the screen, see if that meets your intent there?
Yeah, well, I
just
tend to
added-
go, without getting it wrong, I think Liz is absolutely right. As long as we've told Joe, we're gonna put it in our contract, and it will be forthcoming when we get the wording right, that just having it in the minutes meets our intent.
I agree, Gary, with what you're saying. I mean, I understand you're putting this money towards the veterans' housing, and if it changes for whatever reason, but our goal is for
I know. And I hope,
ever and
I
ever.
I hope you're there for 100 years.
Yeah,
Yeah, can I ask Joe a question, Gary, through you?
Yep.
Just, Joe, are you aware, is there an affordable housing restriction going on the property through the town of Dennis, do you know?
yes, I believe so.
Okay, that's my understanding as well.
Well, that
So- and I
helps.
think,
That helps also.
right,
Just don't want to get to worst case scenario, and it's happened in Yarmouth before, and I don't want to go there.
We agree.
So I think just having it in the minutes, in and of itself, covers us at this point.
Debbie, did you want to make a comment?
No, I'm okay.
Okay, if not, then if you can see the motion, does somebody, Karen can't make the motion. It has to be somebody
Carrie,
on the,
I'll make the motion to appropriate up to $87,400 to fund veterans housing at 1341 Route 134 for costs to be incurred subsequent to contract execution, and further to fund such appropriation with $40,022 from the housing reserve and $47,378 from the undesignated reserve.
okay, motion by Liz. Do I see a second?
Second, Paul?
Second.
Seconded by Paul. Okay, I'll take a roll call vote. Gary, aye. Aye. Paul,
Aye.
Liz,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Christine,
Aye.
Nate.
Aye.
I think that's everybody, right? Okay, then that's the case. It's unanimous, and we'll be bringing it to town meeting. Joe, I think it would be certainly helpful to have you there.
Oh, Gary, I was going to volunteer and ask permission, of not being a resident, if I could attend the meeting and field any
yes.
questions that the voters
Yeah.
would like to ask.
We absolutely think you should be there. So you
I'll
can,
be delighted.
Christine?
Yeah, at Selectmen's meeting, there's been some discussion about Yarmouth dollars going to another town. So I think we should be prepared to discuss regional projects that we've been involved with. Just to
Oh,
show we've done this before.
I'm prepared to discuss that.
Good,
That's what I always, this is not about veterans housing.
no,
I mean, the opposition coming from the fact it's in Dennis,
that's right.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
But if that question comes up, I'll be glad to answer it.
Yeah.
Karen, do you have a question?
I was just gonna let Joe know. Joe, we'll call you or email you with contact information, because I know you don't live in town. So what you need to do is go through the moderator to get permission to speak. So we'll just get you his contact information so that you can be recognized at the town meeting.
Great. Thank you, Karen.
Yeah, you bet, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, everyone. Seriously, this means a lot.
And good
Yeah,
luck.
everyone have a wonderful night, and I look forward to seeing you at the meeting in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Good
Thanks,
luck.
Joe.
All right. Next, we have, I guess, Karen, you're going to do the Taylor Bray Farm update as far as the estimates
Yeah, I'm happy to do it, but I think Mr. Colby might be on the call as well. Is he still here?
I don't see them.
I see him.
Yes.
Do you want to promote him, Don Marie?
Yeah, where'd he go?
And I'll pull up the memo. Everybody, I think Don Marie forwarded out the memo either early today. It's kind of a hot off the press situation. There we go. Okay, and I put the memo up, so I don't know if everybody can see it okay.
Yep.
Thank you. And I see Jeff on the screen.
Yes, good afternoon. Mr. Chairman, I can walk you through this if you'd like.
If you're ready, Jeff, feel free to go ahead.
Okay, great. This is an update. We opened the bids for the Taylor Bray Farm Barn project on Monday. The bids came in higher than the estimate that we had for the project. I understand that we don't know the exact reasons for all 5 bids being higher than the estimate, but I have heard that this is a very active construction climate. Building materials in some cases are double what they were just a year ago. And so the prices, I'm sure, are reflective of that. But again, the contractors don't exactly indicate why their prices are higher than expected. But with that said, the bid that we expect would be the preferred bid. It's not the low bid, but it's the second low bid. The first and second low bids were very close together. But the bid that we believe will be the most complete out of the review of the documents and application and in the bids will be the second low bid for $329,410. Alternate number 1 is for some structural alterations of the barn on the inside. One of the concerns that I know was expressed by the Historic Commission and others was the sagging roof and some concerns inside the building, mostly with the trusses and bracing inside the building, is part of what alternate 1 is for. So what I would recommend is that alternate be selected so that the building could be, so the structural issues inside the building could be addressed. I'll back up for a moment. The base bid, just to refresh everyone's memory, is raising the barn up slightly so that the foundation can be removed, excavated to a full depth, and a new foundation poured with a shelf on the outside that allows for stonework around, so preserving that historic nature. And then a new deck, first floor deck, is constructed that would support public access and congregations loading for that first floor deck. So there are some improvements associated with that. And then the building would be placed back down on that. That's essentially the base bid. And the alternate number 1 is what I just described with regard to some of the structural improvements inside, primarily in the roof area. This base bid being higher than the estimate does not allow us to have any kind of contingency at the moment. So it certainly would be recommended that we have a contingency. Given this is a historic property and it's existing, I think a 15% contingency is appropriate. We just did a couple of new construction projects where more of a 5 or 10% contingency is used in those cases, but with an existing building and of its historic nature, I think 15% would be more appropriate. And we also have Coastal Engineering involved with some of the construction phase services, since this would be engineering controlled construction, and the certifications that they will do throughout the process. So you can see on the memo on your screen that total for all those numbers comes to $419,297, and that is $119,297 more than you'd previously approved. And so we're here to ask for your consideration to increase that amount and do those elements of the project. As it says in the memo, anything that is unused from those funds will certainly be returned. We'll do our best job to manage and return as much of those funds as possible at the end of the project. Happy to answer any questions that the committee might have.
Okay, I'll open the floor to anyone who has any questions of Jeff.
Jeff, George, thanks for coming in. When would the construction be anticipated to start?
The schedule has not been submitted because we haven't awarded the contract yet. Once it's awarded, then one of the first requirements, one of the first submittals from the contractor is to give us a schedule. We have talked with the association, and we did actually do a pre-bid meeting with some of the contractors that showed up for that. And after that, we talked with the association about their use of the building and how quickly they can get components cleaned out. The structure has to be relatively clean in order to remove a foundation and first floor deck, as you can imagine. And so there is some work to do in that regard, and we need to give them some time to do that. But with that said, we do have an open bid that we hope to award shortly after town meeting, and the contractor doesn't need to hold that price for too long. So we need to get that under contract as soon as possible. But we're hoping that the Sheep Festival, I believe, is still planned, and Karen might have some information on that. And a final clean out of the barn would be shortly after the Sheep Festival. So at this point, it's looking like more like a July 1st start for the project, but all that's still to be determined.
The Sheep Festival is scheduled for June 22nd, and that's, remains tentative, subject to the Health Department / Board of Health approval.
Thank you.
Gary?
Paul, you have a
Yeah,
question?
my question is, after this work is done, and let's say $419,000 is expended, will that building require any other work? I'm just trying to remember the conversations previously about, when we talked about the 300,000. What will the condition of the building be? Will there be another effort to put more money into it? Because this 419 doesn't cover everything.
Yeah, that's a good question. I could have probably started out with that as well. This is what's considered phase one. It is the phase that is the most expensive and is also addresses the structural issues for the building. But there were also two other alternates that we included in the bid just to get an idea of what those costs would be for a future phase of the project. And one is the what we're calling the building envelope repairs and improvements, which was replacing some windows, replacing corner boards. There's some gutters and other envelope issues that need to be replaced. That was going to be in that envelope repairs, and then also the roofing needs to be done as well. So there are significant, more cosmetic components that need to be addressed in a second phase. Again, now that we have bid alternates that have assigned a value to those, we know that it's going to be much less costly than this first phase. And the other component is that we have not vetted what all those changes would be, or those improvements would be to the building with Old Kings Highway and others, the Historic Commission. So it's not, we're not recommending moving forward with those components at this time until we have a time to revisit those with the other entities and regroup and make sure that the improvements are consistent with what they feel the building should look like going forward. So those things still need to be reviewed with the various entities, and will be another phase.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else have any questions of Jeff? George?
So without any further discussion, I'd like to make a motion that the committee approve the additional $119,297 to the original approved amount of $300,000, and that we add that amount and place $419,297 on the warrant.
Karen?
You're
You're
muted. Karen, you're
I've
muted.
got solar glare, sorry. If George could modify his motion to to ask that the increased amount be funded from the undesignated reserve, that would be fantastic.
And furthermore, I move that we add the 119,297 we funded from undesignated funds. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Second.
A motion by George. Any discussion on the motion? If not, we have a second from Liz. We'll take a roll call vote on the motion. Christine?
Aye.
Gary? Aye. George?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Liz?
Aye.
Debbie?
Aye.
Nate?
Aye.
Just had the comment, since we first started talking about this, being in the business, I can tell you construction costs have easily gone up 25%. Hopefully this is the end of it, but that just about comes up with the figure that this went up.
Worth every
probably-
penny, in my opinion.
Huh?
I said it's worth every penny, in my opinion, Gary.
Yeah, I mean, we need to do it now. Deb?
It's them and we need to preserve it.
I was just curious, with how many phases are there? Just the two?
3.
Three.
Yeah, I would say
Okay.
at this point, we envision just the 2 phases. The next one would be more of the cosmetic approach to the building, which needs to be more fully vetted.
Thank you.
There, I could see a possible third, which would have to do with interior usage.
Right.
Not saying encourage it, but I could see it might happen.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So I think, and thanks for being here, Jeff, doing
Thanks,
that
Jeff.
for us.
Thank you very much.
We have anything else to discuss, Dawn? We know we have town meetings next Saturday, correct?
Yeah, next Saturday, and let's see if I can share my screen, or maybe Karen can, with the article assignments. You guys all remember what you agreed to present? Let's see.
I don't remember agreeing to anything. Anybody who wants to do anything would be fine with me.
Yeah, it was when you went to the restroom.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how we got stuck with today's. Okay, so there it is in front of us.
So there it is. And Nate, I know we talked about this. He works on Saturdays, and we need to have a backup in case he has to work on Saturday, the 22nd. So those are the affordable housing projects.
I'll be the backup.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you.
Problem.
Thank you, Liz.
No problem,
Eh.
Nate. And Karen, can you just clarify and make sure that I am able to do the Riverwalk Boardwalk Loop? Because it's labeled as recreation and my husband is on the Recreation Commission. I just don't want an appearance of a conflict with me making the motion.
I don't think it's I think I'm not sure what the conflict would be, Liz.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
No, it's a
I have
CPA.
the conflict in my brain.
I don't want any conflicts at your house. It's a CPA funding article. You're a member of the CPA committee, and traditionally the CPA committee moves and explains their articles.
Okay,
if you
I just
will.
want to make sure there
Yeah.
isn't any, yeah.
Nope.
I don't-
And that's it. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I don't see any conflict, but
Okay,
I don't think so.
Okay.
We are working on the motions and explanation scripts for you, and the Q&As that we'll, package up together. Hopefully we'll have those by the end of this week for you. And then Gary, would you consider posting a meeting to consider any, anything? We traditionally have.
we always have, just in case something comes. We get hit with something from the selectmen at last minute. So I think we should post the meeting. If we
Okay.
don't have to discuss anything, that's good news.
We'll post one for, I hate to say it, because I think the selectmen are meeting at 8. So we'll post one for the same. And everybody bring coffee.
For clarification purpose, are you just sending us all of the motions and everything, or just the ones that we're assigned to?
Oh, we'll send out all of the CPA motions and explanations.
Thank you. That's what I was gonna
Okay.
ask for. Thank you.
Yep, you bet.
Because, last minute, somebody else may not be able to do something.
And
George?
we'll also print out hard copies and bring those.
So
In big
when's the
print,
meeting?
Karen,
Sorry?
large print.
Large print, excellent. We'll go font 40.
When are we posting the meeting for? I missed that.
8 o'clock.
What?
May
It'll be,
22nd.
The 22nd at 8 o'clock?
Yep, it'll be like a regular CPC meeting.
8 a.m.?
In the morning, yes.
What time's town meeting start?
9
a.m.
a.m.
I mean, if it made any difference, we could make it 8:30 to anybody. I don't care.
Checking.
Okay.
I'll double check, but I think, and we'll let you know by email, George, but I'm pretty sure the selectmen are meeting at 8. So that's the only reason I'm suggesting 8 to coincide with anything that maybe needs both votes.
Sure, got it.
So, and I did have a text from Christine Merzigliano. I misspoke. I want to let everybody know that I had the date, the tentative date of the the Taylor Bray Farm Sheep Festival, and the tentative date, should it go on, and I hope it will, is Father's Day, which is June 20, not June 22. I think I have that town meeting date on my head. So
Thank you, Karen.
thanks for catching that, Christine.
Thank you.
Okay, Karen,
I'm done.
you don't want to talk about Higgins Kroll,
But I think with Higgins Kroll could be one of those articles that we need to deal with on town meeting day, George.
Right, that's
and the
why
rest of the group.
I'm
because
just mentioning that people, so you understand stuff like that comes up sometimes.
Sure.
If not, I don't think we have anything else, Don, correct?
No.
Okay,
I have a question.
Deb, go ahead.
Yeah, this meeting with the selectmen, is it on a Tuesday night?
We're not meeting with the selectmen. The selectmen are meeting prior to town meeting.
Oh, I see. I see.
No, you're all welcome to attend the selectmen's meeting.
Yeah, I've done that every year.
It's an open meeting.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. All right.
We just make sure we post the meeting in case we have to discuss something so we can legally discuss it. If
Right.
something comes up, we can't talk about it if it's not a posted meeting. Same thing with the
Right.
selectmen.
Yep.
Okay. If not, then I can hear a motion to adjourn.
Oh, Paul has a comment.
Paul? Paul? You have a comment? Question?
Paul, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I had written an email to Don Marie about some remarks I had heard Mark Forrest make, and I don't want to prolong this meeting at all, but I just want to understand having to do with the veterans home, and I'm glad we did proceed the way we did with that. But he had made the comment in that he thought that we had pledged, I think were his words, $100,000 towards towards the veterans home, and he was dismayed that only $20,000 was being offered. And my question was that I didn't know that we that we made pledges. So I wondered if he was just confused, or am I misunderstanding something?
He got the whole thing wrong, and he went out talking about it without ever asking us ahead of time. That's my comment. I have talked with him myself and explained to him what our decisions were and why.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
that's in an email. Karen can share them with you, but he knows what we did and why we did it. And
Yeah, I was
I-
just
I-
curious. And
And
I-
what we did today pretty much addresses what they'd asked, so
yeah, okay.
they
okay.
should be happy. I think we did it properly.
Yes, I agree. And I know we can't discuss these things outside of meetings, so I just wanted to know about that.
No, it's a good point. But I have discussed it and went back and forth, and Karen did with emails letting him know how we were, where we were. So
Okay. Thank you very much.
thanks. If not, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I second it.
Who seconded it?
Debbie?
Debbie. Motion by Nate and seconded by Debbie. Christine,
Aye.
Gary, aye. George,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Liz,
Aye.
Debbie,
Aye.
Nate.
Aye.
The only motion I got smiles from everybody on. Right.
Unanimous smile vote, yes.
I'll be thinking
Thank
about
you.
you all from Yellowstone.
Yeah, have a
Chris-
safe
Have
trip,
a great
Christine.
trip. Be safe.
Yeah.
Be safe.
Take
Enjoy.
care,
PM.
Christine.
Thank
Send us
you.
pictures.
Thanks, Don. Thanks,
Take care.
Karen.
You're welcome.
job.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks all.